Welcome to this explainer. Today, I'm putting on my clinical researcher and naturopath hat to talk about something you probably have sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. We're going to reveal how a humble, everyday household pantry staple is actually a total biomedical powerhouse. We'll unpack the fascinating world of the clove, exploring everything from its super strict botanical requirements to its potent medicinal chemistry and the surprisingly wild global economy that surrounds it. All right, let's just dive right in. The clove doesn't just add a nice, warm flavor to your holiday baking. It actually commands the absolute highest antioxidant concentration rating, what's known as the ORAC value, of any common culinary herb or spice on the planet. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And this concentration is exactly why it's a cornerstone of both ancient traditional medicine and highly advanced modern pharmaceutical synthesis. It's a perfect bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science. Section 1. Origin of the spice snail. To really understand its medical potency, we've first got to look at the botany and history behind this tiny flower bud. What's fascinating is how early trade terminology was entirely visual. The English word clove comes directly from the Old French word clou and the Latin word clavis, and both of those words translate directly to nail. It's a literal nod to the dried bud's shape, which, let's be honest, looks exactly like a small, rusted, antique nail. And that unique physical shape was so universally recognized that it inspired names across all the major global trade routes, seamlessly bridging totally different cultures. In Mandarin Chinese, it's dingxiang, literally translating to spice snail. Whether it's the German Nelke, the Hindi long, or the Spanish clavo del lor, the historical visual significance of this spice is permanently hardwired into our global languages. But here's the catch. This spice won't just grow anywhere. The clove is actually the unopened flower bud of the Syzygium aromaticum. That's an evergreen tree in the Myrtaceae, or myrtle, family that grows between 8 and 12 meters tall, and it is incredibly demanding. It requires a highly specific environment. We're talking humid, tropical maritime climates mixed with extremely well-drained, rich volcanic soil. Without those exact conditions, the tree simply won't yield the potent buds we rely on. And the harvest? It is a razor-thin window that relies entirely on human precision. First, the buds develop on the tree with a pale green color. Then they hit this critical transition, turning a bright, delicate pinkish red. That is the exact moment they have to be hand-picked, literally right before the petals expand to reveal their internal structures. Once harvested, they're laid out and sun-dried until they turn that deep, rich brown we all recognize. During that process, they lose roughly 70% of their fresh water weight, which perfectly locks in those potent oils. Section 2. The pharmacy in a flower. So what exactly is trapped inside after it dries down into that tiny botanical nail? Well, let's break down the hard pharmaceutical science. As a researcher, I find its phytochemical complex absolutely astounding. It's basically a naturally occurring medicine cabinet packed into a single flower bud. The essential oil extracted from the clove is dominated by 3 main active compounds: eugenol, acetyl-eugenol, and beta-caryophyllene. Let's look at how each of these interacts with the human body, starting with the heavy hitter, eugenol. This makes up an incredible 70 to 90% of the bud's active compounds. Eugenol is a powerful natural anesthetic, antiseptic, and anti-inflammatory agent. It directly targets dental pain relief by literally structurally blocking our nerve pain pathways. That's exactly why it's been an ancient remedy for toothaches and why it's still a modern clinical standard for oral inflammation treatments and commercial mouthwashes today. But the benefits certainly don't stop at the mouth. Making up about 5 to 12% of the complex is beta-caryophyllene. This compound works deep within our bodies, interacting with specific cannabinoid receptor pathways in our nervous system. Through this interaction, it offers potent anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective properties. It's actually a super exciting area of focus for advanced neurological research right now. And right alongside those two, making up 10 to 15% of the oil, we have acetyl-eugenol. This one is quietly working behind the scenes to support your cardiovascular system. It acts as a robust inhibitor of platelet aggregation. Basically, in simpler terms, it helps keep your blood circulation smooth and prevents abnormal clotting, which vastly improves your overall vascular health. Furthermore, this little bud is an absolute powerhouse for your digestive health. In the stomach, it stimulates gastric mucus production, which protects the stomach lining and actually accelerates enzymatic digestion. And outside the body, it acts as a potent natural preservative. These compounds effectively disrupt the cell walls of harmful pathogens and foodborne bacteria like E. coli and Listeria, which historically made cloves absolutely essential for safe food storage. Which brings us to Section 3, the Great Indonesian Paradox. Now, with all these highly concentrated biomedical benefits, you'd probably think this spice is evenly distributed and heavily exported across the globe to stock our pharmacies, right? Well, get ready for a pretty astonishing economic twist. Indonesia is the undisputed king of clove production, commanding over 70% of the total global supply. But, and this is a huge but, unlike almost any other agricultural commodity, the vast majority of Indonesian cloves never actually leave the country. They consume most of their own massive harvest. And here is why: the kretek industry. Kretek are locally manufactured clove cigarettes that blend minced tobacco with crushed clove buds. This single, massive domestic industry drives such heavy, insatiable consumption that it creates a highly volatile local market. In fact, the demand for kretek in Indonesia is so immense that it literally dictates the availability, scarcity, and pricing trends for the entire rest of the world. Crazy, right? Section 4. The Global Spice Network. Because of that massive internal consumption by the world's largest producer, the rest of the globe has to rely on a fascinating secondary international trade network to get their hands on cloves. To fill the void, places like Madagascar and Tanzania step up as the premium export engines. Tanzania's Zanzibar region is famously known in history as the Spice Island. Historically, intense European demand influenced colonial control over these exact regions to secure the crop. And today, Zanzibar still produces exceptionally high oil content cloves targeted specifically at high-end export markets. But getting those cloves out of East Africa and into a Western laboratory isn't a direct flight. Today, Singapore steps in to operate as the premier global logistical clearing and re-export hub. Massive raw shipments arrive in Singapore, where they are meticulously sorted, graded, and packaged before finally being distributed out across Western markets. What I find really interesting is how differently global cultures actually utilize these imports once they arrive. Take India. They are the largest net importer of food-grade cloves globally. They prioritize the whole spice for heavy culinary integration, like in traditional gram masala blends, and for Ayurvedic medicine formulations. Contrast that with the United States and Western Europe. There, the focus is almost entirely on industrial processing. Western markets extract high-purity clove essential oil to manufacture cosmetics, craft fragrances, produce commercial dental care products, and formulate processed food preservatives. Two totally different approaches to the exact same bud. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this thought. Isn't it absolutely wild how a tiny, ancient, sun-dried flower bud that's probably hidden away in the back of your kitchen cabinet right now is simultaneously shaping the future of vascular health, acting as an advanced neuroprotective agent, and controlling massive volatile global trade networks? Next time you see that tiny spice nail in your pantry, ask yourself, what other ancient household remedies are hiding cutting-edge medical breakthroughs right in plain sight? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.